And we're live. Let me just take a quick second to confirm we're actually live. And that voice crack. Let's start that over. That voice crack was rough.
Hello, guys.
Hello, everybody. Let me just do that. Okay. Okay, let's put that there in the Discord, and then I think that might have fucked up the stream for a split second. It's fine. Lacknap's in the chat. Hello, Lacknap. Yeah, it really did screw up the stream. Moist Critical showed up on the stream for a split second. I saw Moist Critical's face on the stream for a split second. This stream setup is very professional, very, very nice.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I've been waiting for.
It has been posted on Twitter as well. So I think we're ready to begin. I think. I'm not forgetting anything, am I?
Okay.
I am forgetting one thing. I have to do my obligatory. I have to thank the sponsors, the donators. I meant to say, the donators. Go. Okay. Obligatory. I have to say thanks. So 900061. Thank you. Crow tier member. Thank you very much. CPB34, my boy. Thank you. Bob BKD. Thank you. I hate saying this every single time. Grim Poop Knuckle. Okay. Emmanuel. Thank you. Charlie. Thank you very much. Hotel Soap. Thank you. I don't know how to say that one. LA Dripper. These names. Thank you. Tyler Pruden, thank you very much. Michael, but spelt a little silly, thank you. Normified, thank you very much. Heaven Wolf, I recognize that name, thank you very much. And Zach C. Server, thank you very much. I know Zach. Thank you, Zach. We've gotten that out of the way. Hello, everybody. 10 out of 10 naming, yeah, for real. So, one important thing we should go ahead and get out of the way. Homework is not attending this alternate stream. So, Pascal, you can take the lead here. What's been going on the last 2 weeks with the project?
Okay. All right. Well, me and Homework have been quite busy setting up the boilerplate for the project. You can actually see a lot of that done in the Git repository. So we've put together a monorepo, the structure for the project. We got like everything kind of like placed now. And Homework has done a lot of work in terms of planning for the what do you want to call it, the white paper on the instructions of how to build the protocol and everything. And right now we're kind of in the middle between talking about like what, you know, how to make things work and building out the core constructs for Rust. So yeah.
I'll go ahead and show them.
What?
So one of the things that has been a continuous kind of a very key focal point with the project is we've been really trying to improve transparency with the project, because Obviously, back when it was still called BetaNet, and when I was kind of leading the whole thing, transparency was a major issue. So we've been working pretty hard to improve transparency in the project, and one of the ways we're doing that is we now actually have a project board on GitHub. If I go ahead and that, yeah, that doesn't work. Okay. As you can see here, you can actually see what's actively in progress, what's on the to do, what's going to be done, and you can see what has already been done, and you can actually actively track development here. And another key point is that just I fucking love GitHub so much, man. Jesus. And then if you actually look, so one of the things is they're actually using GitHub issues here, so you guys can actually add comments and even see what they're doing with the issues. So why don't actually, I think it'd be probably a good time, because I actually was even reading these GitHub issues myself, and I read some of what you guys had, so like in the active to do and everything. We're all waiting on GitHub here. Okay. So in progress, you have things like update documentation repo, but that title isn't very descriptive. I guess what I'm saying is, can you go further in detail on what you guys are actively like what each one actively means, what you guys are actively doing?
Okay. So I'm thinking about what level of abstraction to really talk about here, right? So really, the things that have been done, right, is creating entry and boilerplate code, right? But that involves several things, right? So one of the things that you see on the repository as well is you see like our setup that is done in main. We've got basically the core logic that is running. We've run it, it runs. That's a good sign, right?
Here, let me
And we've built like
show
some event handlers. We've done some type aliases, right? And yeah, that's pretty much the boilerplate stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just like the basic like setup for Rust.
Yeah, just basic setup, if you will. And the rest is CI/CD stuff, basically connecting the cargo test to CI/CD, which means that if anyone tries to push something to the actual main branch, it will just stop, and a bunch of those like utility stuff, you know. And so far in the works, there is implementing logic and code. Now that that's such a terrible name. We need to do a little bit better in terms of naming our tasks. But
you guys,
so far,
you can add descriptions to issues. You guys should probably do that.
Yeah,
it's just merging branch into main. It doesn't tell me a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we need to try and do a little bit better on that front. But yeah, I guess what I'm working on right now is homework has come up with a structure, I guess, for how. Okay, so we have this DHT thing, right? So the DHT is basically like, if you guys know like what a table looks like, right? It's a mapping, right? But this mapping is stored on several computers. And so right now, we have to find a structure of how to store data in this DHT. And so I'm working with Rust to try and build out the constructs. If you want to think about it this way, it's like I'm trying to talk to the compiler and let them know, like, okay, what is a bandwidth, right? What is, what are all these sort of like simple constructs like decentralized ID? And a lot of the work is also involved in wrapping libp2p types, because we are literally primarily using libp2p. Literally everything is mostly coming from libp2p, right? It's our framework. So yeah, I'm doing most of that kind of work basically. And last week, basically,
you say basically a lot.
I'm sorry. Very complexly, right? But last week, homework worked on actually furthering the white paper. So if you go to, I believe it's Alternet docs, you will see like a bunch of new stuff.
That's something we totally forgot to mention too, because that happened in the last 2 weeks. So for what for if you guys, in case you guys don't know, So there's the alternate main repository, right? There's the main repository here, and you can actually get a full overview of exactly what alternate is. You can get a full explanation of what they're doing, how they're going to go about it, the implementation. You can go in. There's a full explanation of DHT, the distributed hash table, and how we're going about a decentralized DNS kind of system. There's a full explanation, including graphs, visual graphs that you can go and actually look at, and it explains exactly how all this works. And if you were to actually go over here, though, we actually now have an alternate docs repo. I don't think it's linked there, but if you go to alternate docs, there is now a docs repo, and it's just about brainstorming notes, graphs, and charts, and different stuff like that. So right here, there's even I don't know what the hell this is actually. What there's just 2025 1210 MD, and it's purely empty. Is that intentional?
I'm not sure.
But like you guys had your Excalidraw here, and then even he made this kind of like write up of how he wants to go about private relays, and then there's the full explanation right here. So interesting reads if you want to go look at that. But the whole point of even doing these doc repos and everything, though, is because we've been trying to improve transparency with the project, make sure active development is very visible, so you guys can actually go and read from the horse's mouth exactly what they're doing, what they're thinking, how they're going about everything, you know. And then you guys can even chime in during active development, because that's very important.
Yeah, we've been really focused on we're still understanding the domain in some sense, right? Understanding like how's the best way of doing certain things, right? So it's not very exciting, you know. There's not like it's not going to be like tons of like news every single week, I don't think, but you can start to see like we're actually shaping the project, right? I kind of like to see it this way, right? It's kind of like a big like ice cube, right? And we're just kind of like chipping at it very
That's an
slowly.
important thing, you know. These projects, there was the big initial hype and everything with the project, but a real tangible project that actually turns out something that is real and usable, you know, it's not built on hype. You know, there's always the start of any project like this is always the super boring stuff. It's the research and just the planning and the whole figuring out all the fundamentals and the technicals and stuff. It's the boring work that has to get done for, you know, any kind of project like this to really take off. So I you know, it's boring, but you know, it's real. We're actually getting the real project done, you know.
Yep.
How much progress do you guys have on alternate? What phase in the project would you say we're in right now? Because I was
Oh,
labeling
we've
the phase that we started in as kind of a whiteboarding phase. Do you feel like we're still in that?
I feel like we're definitely still in that sort of period. Like we have some code, absolutely. But I mean, for a project of this caliber and the scope, right, it's going to take us some time to actually start picking up momentum. Um, and I think naturally, when you're looking at the repository, you're going to start to see like some sort of progression, obviously, right? But there's going to be a point where like you start to see things really pick up, right? And I think that's going to be like maybe next year, um, like January-ish, right? But for
Yeah,
the
of
time
course.
being, we're still really like talking, you know. And there's a lot of stuff that we you know, it's quite difficult for us when it comes to like you know what are we going to implement and what are we not, because homework really brought like a lot of like cool things that we could add. Like we talked about having like a communication layer, you know, all these like cool features.
He was even talking about
But
implementing
but we
built
have
into the
to sort
protocol,
of
like the whole session client side kind of version of.
yeah.
It's kind of like OAuth, but more client side and whatnot.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that we can do, but I guess wisdom is also knowing like what you probably shouldn't just yet, right? So,
We definitely
so
want to
yeah,
focus on getting the main, just bare bones kind of version of alternate working. You know, we need a protocol, and then we can build it out into and really add on to it over time, you know. But you need those foundations first. Foundation building is never the most interesting, but it's the most crucial. So It's always important that we take our time with it,
Yeah.
get it right. You know, if you build on if you haphazardly quickly slap together a shaky foundation, then that's going to affect the project forever. You know, you need to make sure that you have strong bones at the core.
Yeah. Well, it's also just like it's just code, right? This is the experience, guys. This is
This
what
is
it
the
feels like.
coding experience. You know, when I was well, even back with Talon, for example, when I was working on Talon, you know, there's all the hype and stuff, but then before it, because you know, I made the initial video that really blew up, and then it took maybe like a month or two before the first public usable version actually came out, and during that time, a lot of it was kind of just not radio silence per se, but you know what I mean. Just like there wasn't too much to say about it because it was just the really boring, just getting it to work, you know. Because there was a lot of work that had to be done on it in the beginning. Are the Raven beta testers going to be part of Alternate down the line? Like, are there some test features or even the main Alternate in a few months before release? There absolutely will be kind of like a test phase, I'm imagining, yeah? There would be kind of like a crowdsourced testing phase. That's what I would think, right? Like we would start by like kind of making a miniature alternate network just to test the feasibility of it and then like kind of go from there.
Yeah. We also need the feedback from tests. So like that would be a great opportunity to, stress test the system.
Oh, because we need to make sure that the system's stable enough to even handle, you know, that kind of shit. Because if it can't handle like 10 clients, then how is it going to handle hundreds of thousands, you know?
Well, it's Rust. We're okay on that front. I think like it will at least handle the amount of people, right? I think we can. So like performance and optimizations is something that is going to be another sort of like big
Brownies.
stretch as well. But I think we only know what is going to be slow when we see people use it. So that's the data we're going to be picking up from that.
As far as current state of the project, I'm pretty happy with progress so far. The progress has been, I would describe as slow and steady, which is exactly what I want. So we've really been, I think, I think you and Homework have been doing pretty good so far. Um,
Well,
another thing that I'm that happened in the last 2 weeks, I believe it was. I believe it was in the last 2 weeks. Um, is we actually now have this web page on our website called, it's just the alternate page, ravendevteam.org/alternate. If you actually go to Explore, you go to Alternate, then there's live updates here. Windows Defender, fuck off. Now, if you go to this page, it's essentially, we made like a miniature version of Twitter, basically, except it's only they can post, but it gives you a full explanation of what Alternate is, links to all the necessary resources, honorable mentions, and then you actually get active posts directly from Homework and directly from Pascal, and they give actual just live updates on the progress of the project and everything. And the whole reason we did this is because, oh Jesus, oh, the whole reason we did this though is part of something I noticed is that a lot of the information regarding alternates very fragmented. It's very spread across many places, you know, the Discord and then the Twitter and then this channel and stuff like that. So there has been a big kind of, I have been trying, we've all been working together to really try to centralize information regarding alternate a bit better. So like having having these streams, still having Twitter, still having the Discord, but having a central place for the updates, and then all the other places kind of just echo that. You know, so that's been a big kind of part of the whole improving transparency with the project and everything. Now, as far as the current status of the project, because what you guys have done right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pascal, what you guys have done
mhm.
right now is you guys have figured out the distributed hash table kind of distributed DNS setup. You guys figured out like the domain net mapping and all of that. You guys have figured out, that what dependency you want to work with, so libp2p. What else do you guys have? What all do you guys have figured out right now, and what all are you guys still working on as far as like the different aspects of Alternet? What do you guys have figured out, and what do you not?
Yeah, well, so the work that we need to do now is basically, like I said, we need to write some constructs. We need to write like, you know, basic types so that we can work with. Then we have to implement a stream. So we need to kind of customize the way the Cademlia works in libp2p, and that means that we have to kind of like have our own sort of custom system working with it. So we have to understand how the traits work, which is, it's not hard, but we want to understand how it is that it works from the library's author's perspective, right? We have to understand how they want us to interact with it. So we have to build that sort of custom system. We're talking about like, how do we want to wire this into the application? Do we want to go like event driven? Do we fire events? Do we just like pass it through pass it through some sort of pointer, right? These are all very small decisions that actually impact the way the the performance works, the program works at the end of the day.
Those kinds of small
So that's
decisions
kind of where
about
we're
how
at.
you go about even storing the data, what type you
Oh
use
yeah,
for the
yeah.
different data and stuff, that matters a
Yeah,
lot.
what length, like things like, people don't really think about this, right? But we have like a decentralized ID, right? Well, how long is this going to be? Is it going to be U8s, U16s, right? Where what does it do?
And that kind of
Right?
difference on a protocol on a network level is drastic.
Yeah. And generally also boilerplate stuff. So there's a lot of writing to do because we have to kind of implement like things like from. So like being able to transform our own types to be compatible with libp2p's types and backwards, right? So yeah, a bunch of these things.
So I it this is gonna be kind of a silly question, but I think you might be able to answer it. If you can't, then you can. It is what it is. I'm curious. If you had to just like kind of come up with a percentage number, like out of 100, how complete would you say alternate is? If I just me personally, if I was looking at it, I'd say we're probably about a good 5% there. 5 to 8.
uh from my experience, software is never finished, so
How far do you think we are until stable 1.0? I should say.
um well, I think we are at least one third there, probably,
Your
maybe a
estimate's a
bit
lot higher than mine
further.
then, dang.
Yeah,
Why do you
well,
say
the
that?
thing is, we're not writing this in TypeScript or Go. No shade to those languages, but Rust is a language where when you're done, right? So what's going to happen is right now we're still in that phase where we're building things, right? Eventually, the code base is just going to like light up like a Christmas tree. Everything is going to be red. Um, but when we finish, when everything is no longer red, it works, and we know it works. This is the best thing about Rust is like,
Yeah.
you just start writing, and then it's done when it's done. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. And how effective do you think the memory safety aspect of Rust would be in regards to alternate? I don't imagine actually it would be probably too applicable to alternate.
Oh, oh my God! Don't get me started. You see, memory safety is applicable to, I think, any software.
Well, yeah, but
So,
I'm saying like, in regards to alternate, I feel like memory safety isn't the whole memory safety kind of aspect of Rust isn't like the biggest reason. It's not like the biggest reason why we're using Rust or anything. It's I feel like memory safety isn't always like the biggest concern when it comes to like building a protocol like this, if that makes sense. Like, because you could easily build
well,
this protocol in C and it'd be fine.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you can definitely build something like this in C, right? Um, And I don't think that's the only selling point for having this in Rust. I think that Rust is the combination of all the sort of mistakes that we've learned throughout like software in the past like decade or two, right? So memory safety is by far still important, right? Because like 70% of bugs and basically vulnerabilities are about memory safety, right? You don't think about it, but memory safety isn't just like, oh yeah, someone can write at some sort of address, right? It's also things like memory leaks, right? People don't actually know like how many memory leaks there are in like JavaScript or TypeScript or Python, right? But you have to realize that garbage collection does not keep you safe from memory issues either.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I think like when it comes to Rust, like we're getting a bunch of things just free because Rust has an amazing ecosystem in terms of having lib peer-to-peer. You can also see like it's very nice working with like these kind of libraries with Rust because you can see everything through the code, right? In fact, me and Homework have kind of had like a little bit of a like he's learning in some way and I'm learning in another, right? I'm actually like diving into the code directly and reading it to actually like get a feel, right? I feel like I'm more like a fish. I need to code to breathe, right? Not breathe to code, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I'm having a little bit of a difficulty following. It was a little wacky of an analogy there, but
but yeah, we get other things from Rust, for example, type safety and whatever. It's kind of hard to highlight how great Rust is, right? To I guess the general audience, but I think if you
this
spend
alternate
maybe
stream is just glazing Rust the whole time.
I told you, don't get me started, right? I think when you spend some time writing code in like something like TypeScript or maybe C++, right? God forbid, you start to understand. Like,
Oh God, making this in C++.
you start to understand like
There's a no
how
shade to
great
Java, no shade to TypeScript, no shade to JavaScript, but C++ full shade.
it it's really complicated, right? Because you have things like algebraic like data types and enums, and you can do things like type state patterns and all these kind of things, right? It's fantastic, right?
We got an interesting
That's
question. So,
yeah.
deleted account asked, will Alternet be invisible to sensors like BetaNet was supposed to be? Well, because the thing is, Alternet's not, I guess technically Alternet's separate. Technically, Alternet is kind of like the rebirth of BetaNet, but they're still technically the same project. So when you say it like BetaNet was supposed to be, BetaNet just is Alternet. Alternet's just the second much better attempt at it, I guess you could say. Because BetaNet was when I was running it and when I was kind of like trying to do everything in it and it turned out horribly. And Alternet's just whenever we took a step back and we're now like doing it properly. But Alternet at a fundamental level, a big key point of it is that the network is uncensorable. Or it is as much as can be uncensorable.
It
So,
uses the same exact sort of infrastructure as the current internet that you know today. And so if they wanted to censor something, right, they would have to basically cut the cables, right? The
well, they could.
difference is
There
that
is actually a way that they could still do it, and it's something called deep packet inspection. But you see, the difficulty with deep packet inspection is doing it in mass at a network level like that would bog down the speed of your network so severely that it would gimp the whole internet. Really, it would really slow down the internet, and that just isn't very feasible. But like doing mass deep packet inspection is not very is unrealistic is my whole point. And Alternate, the entire idea is that it because you see the thing about Tor, the thing about libp2p or not libp2p but i2p, The thing about these different networks is they light up at like a Christmas tree to any network operator. If I am running a network and I'm looking through the different devices and just general high level overview of their traffic, it is very blatantly obvious if someone is using Tor. Like it is easy to spot, very easy. Now, and that's what makes it very easy to block at a network level. Now, you see, the thing about Alternet is it essentially mimics a lot of very similar behaviors and patterns of regular HTTPS and DNS and everything like that. And it really kind of blends in a way where the only way to really kind of spot it would be to actually dig deep into the packets and really do deep packet inspection. And then, like I said, that really slows down a network. So it's really difficult to block that in theory. We're really a big part of Pascal's job here and Homework's job is designing it in a way where, again, that kind of spotting Alternet and being able to easily block it and stuff is difficult. Trying to make it as difficult as possible, because again, one of the core ideas with Alternet is mutually assured destruction. That's the best phrase I can come up for it, because and it really is that principle, because you can, if you try hard enough, you can censor Alternet. It's possible. But you see, the thing is, if you're going to censor Alternet, it's also going to severely damage the regular web in the process. That's the fundamental concept. And if it's designed carefully, then that's absolutely possible. And that's why that's kind of like, it acts as like insurance, essentially, to prevent Alternet from being censored, because anyone trying to censor Alternet probably doesn't want the regular web censored too. So the only realistic solution to Alternet is to just allow it to exist, essentially. And that's kind of the whole principle there. Actually, that is worthwhile. Actually, I would love to actually discuss a little more in depth how you guys are exactly going about that whole mutually assured destruction kind of principle.
Yeah. So we're using a lot of technologies that are already present in basically the web, right? Alternet is not going to replace like the entire internet. It's going to be like a layer on top of the infrastructure that we already know and use, right?
We're not
And it's
reinventing
literally
we're not reinventing TCP over IP and shit.
yeah, no, it's gonna have its own sort of DNS, right? In a sense, and you can basically just like host your own platform there. And if you imagine like we have a client, right, and you might have like an alternate client, your browser literally does not know or care that it is alternate. It just works, right? It's not invasive, right? So nobody actually needs to know that you're running like an alternate node or whatever. You just kind of like browse and it
Well, I'm
works,
talking
right?
about
And we're
from I'm
using
talking about from a network like operator perspective, a sensor, if you will, like looking, inspecting your traffic. Like, again, the whole point is to obviously prevent that from being the case. So I know we're using one of the big uh, engineering problems that Alternet's really going to have to overcome is Quick. Because Quick is really nice. Quick is great, and it's what we're building on, as far as I'm aware, right?
yep.
Because there's UDP and stuff, but then there's Quick. We're building upon Quick, but the problem with Quick is that it is pretty distinguishable from regular web traffic. So that's like having it blend in well, because a network operator very well could just block all Quick traffic. So it's going to be a difficult challenge to um, to get around that. So what I was asking is more on a network level. How are you guys going about that? Have you guys discussed that much yet?
So I mean, so far it's very sort of easy, right? We have Quick, of course, then we have fallback to TCP, right? We need to get I guess the basic stuff out first before we start thinking about how to go further and beyond, right? But I know there's a lot that we can still do, but we've not yet got into that just yet.
Yeah, of course. It's just a matter. You guys want to get a functioning just a functioning network protocol first, and then iron it out. That makes sense. And that's kind of what homework was saying too. Whenever we were discussing it, kind of in depth that last time. It's but I was just curious if you guys had since had any discussion about that yet. I want to thank you, man, about your program, Talon. It's insane. It's perfect. Thanks again. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I'm happy you like it. Would be smart to have Rust as a first language, or should I learn something different first? Pascal, I'm sure you can already tell Pascal's answer on that.
Um, it depends. I think it also depends on like what kind of person you are, right? If you're able to take the beating, right? Because Rust is a language that actually beats you. It does not it does not hold you by your hand. It actually like hits you, right? It belts you every time. If you can tolerate that for a year or two, right? Rust is the language for you. You will come out like a better dev. If not, I think like start with a bunch of other languages before you
I
come to
would
Rust,
say
or you're going to
PHP or Python is really good to first get into for like a
PHP.
beginner. I'm a
Yeah,
PHP shill. I love PHP.
you
PHP,
do?
my
Why?
beloved. PHP's goated.
I actually think that like the minimum language you should actually touch is maybe you can dabble in Python, but I think you should go with like a typed language because types are, I don't know who came up with this idea that like you could have languages without types, but I think you're wrong. you know,
Well, it's called weak types because types are just assumed.
it's not they. Oh my god, Python doesn't even have any types. What do you
Yeah, I
mean
know
weak?
it's called weak types. You don't specify the types. It just also there is actually types in Python, but I think it's actually like a lib for it. I think you import types or like import
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
import types or whatever. Then you actually can specify specific types and stuff because I've done it before. Um,
Yeah.
ugh. Already used Talon myself and on multiple PCs in my family. Nice. So current state of what is actively being worked on as we speak? Can you go in depth on what is actively like right now being worked on with Alternet? What's your guys' main focus in this very moment?
Well, we're basically working on like so I'm working on the construct, right? So things like versions, right? Things like records, DNS stuff, like all the kind of basic structure that you expect from a program like this. I'm thinking about like wrapping types from libp2p to our types, implementing uh, conversions between both, right? And all those kind of things. Um, yeah, I don't know. How much detail do you want to go on into that? It's not like
You
there's much
listen,
there.
I feel like something I feel like you're kind of afraid to get too technical. Listen, get technical, man. Get technical, man.
Okay. Okay.
This
So,
is that listen, these
ba-
alternate streams, it's a safe space for you to nerd the fuck out.
for my end, homework gave me like a bunch of structure to work with, right? And it looks something like a JSON, if you can imagine that. And so I've taken that and I've written some decentralized ID structs, a bunch of types. I'm also thinking about how I can use like type state patterns and using generics to actually like enforce certain behaviors in this because we're talking about like basically using the DHT, this common basically mapping, if you will. And I think I suggested that basically we should have like the same common one because at some point it came up in our conversation that we possibly could have had we could actually have multiple um, sort of DHEs working in parallel. But I think I wanted to keep it as one
Ah,
because it means
cancer.
that we can.
I
What
think one would
was
definitely
that?
be a lot simpler.
Yeah, one would be a lot simpler, right? But it's the fact that we have to listen for streams, so we have to listen to other types of connections as well from this node, from each node, right? Um, and Yeah, yeah. So one is the one that I thought we should go with because it means that we have less state to work with, and less state means like less bugs. It's much safer.
Of course.
Um, and yeah, I'm working towards thinking about how to structure generics. So uh,
Because
yeah,
honestly, the less code, the better, even from just like from a security's perspective, because every single line of code can be a vulnerability. Elaborate on the censorship repercussions, please. In what way would the web be affected, broadly speaking? I don't think I understood. Not a tech question. I don't expect you to reveal that here. Pascal.
oh,
Did you think I was gonna answer? Someone in chat asked that. I mean, that's more of a you question because I mean, you guys are actually writing it. You know, you guys are actually making that.
yeah. So I
I
mean,
feel like okay, sorry, I will interrupt just really quick. I do just want to say one thing. I feel like repercussions is the wrong perspective because it's not about offense, it's about defense, you know? It's defense through offense, if that makes sense.
we're
But
we're
anyways,
basically
yeah.
building we're basically building like a digital parasite, if you will. Maybe that's not a good term, but
Kai
if you
actually
think
pretty
about
much is. Yeah.
yeah, it's a cockroach, guys. It's not just a cockroach. So it's not like we're going to attack people or like it's going to take down the web as you know it or anything. It's just like it works, and if you want to take it down, you're going to have to do a lot, right?
Well, yeah, that's
And
not
I
the,
don't
we
think
don't want to be very clear, we don't want to harm the regular web. We don't want to be hostile. We don't want to be malicious. The whole point is it's a self-defense mechanism. It it ties itself close to the web. It latches itself onto the web, you know, so that in a way that the only realistic way to get it off is to also harm the regular web. But he was asking specifically, um, in what way would the web be affected, broadly speaking? Like, how exactly could the web be affected? So, if, again, with the whole deep packet inspection thing that I was mentioning earlier, if if you were trying to inspect traffic on a deep level to actually discover alternate traffic and then block it, that is extremely slow and that would just bog down the regular network severely. And that would affect not even just the regular web, just your whole network in general. And it would severely affect the regular web. So that makes it pretty unrealistic. Um, and also due to things like encryption, that becomes extremely challenging. Now, as far as how it would affect the web in other ways, I definitely think that if there was state level censorship, so like a country or government or anything, if they were trying to block it in mass or like an entire ISP, it would definitely, I feel like it would definitely harm regular web traffic because by slowing it down pretty severely. And it could even like there was someone was even saying, although they said it may have just been a rumor, apparently Russia tried to block Tor relays, and ended up taking down the regular web in the process. So it'd be very similar to that if they tried to take it down in any kind of broad fashion like that, then it would either just take the regular web down with it or it would severely slow it down. And those are
yeah,
kind of that's kind of it. It's a self-defense mechanism in that way. And that's kind of insurance to make sure that alternate doesn't get fucked with, you know. Where is your beta net? I don't know how to answer that question. But do you have any comments as far as that goes, as far as like how it would affect it? Because, you know, generally from my perspective that's how it would work, but you know, since you're the coding man.
yeah. I think how it would affect it is pretty self-explanatory, right? It's just we're making a cockroach. It's really hard to take it down, right? It's not impossible, right? I mean, you can take down banks as well. Anything is vulnerable. It's just that it's very annoying and difficult, and you'd have to break a lot of things that already exist to make that happen, right?
It's
Um,
to be
I guess
specific with alternate, it's not about making it impossible to censor necessarily. It's about making it realistically impossible. So it's not on a
Yeah,
technical level going to be absolutely impossible, but like censoring on a broad scale would just be completely unrealistic because of how resource intensive it would be, how time consuming it would be, and everything like that. It just makes it super super inconvenient and super unrealistic to censor it to the point where they just don't. That's the
yeah.
whole idea.
I mean, I want to catch the idea for a second too, right? Is like we can go really far in terms of like making this thing unbreakable, right? In fact, like it would be very fun for me to challenge people to try and break this thing, right? However, right, these things come at a trade-off. It comes at a trade-off of speed, it comes at a trade-off of performance, right? And so I want you to imagine that Alternet is kind of like it's a realistic way of tackling this problem, right? You can use it. It's not blazingly fast, but it's not like really slow like Tor, right?
Well, the
It
key is it's
works,
supposed to be a
and
viable replacement for the current day web.
yeah, yeah, it's a nice place in the middle. It's a nice middle ground, right?
It has to be fast enough so that if there was like a YouTube, if let's say hypothetically YouTube went on the alternate network for whatever reason, or if there was another streaming platform like it, you would be able to click on a video and watch a live stream just fine. It has to be fast enough for stuff like that. It has to be fast enough to like again stream video or download, big files and all that stuff. It has to be fast enough to be realistic and usable, but it's also gonna be probably to be realistic, it probably would be a little slower than the regular web just because of the fundamental design. But
Naturally,
we
yeah,
definitely, because even as far as anonymity goes, the alternat's not supposed to be an anonymous network. It's privacy respecting, but it's not supposed to be anonymous. People on there aren't supposed to be anonymous. Now, as far as I'm aware, you guys are actually building in onion routing, sort of like the multi-hop kind of thing, but it would be optional, built into the protocol, right? As far as I'm aware.
yeah, yeah,
But it would be optional. And as far as but then there would be the regular, and that would be better for if you want kind of that better privacy and the anonymity and everything. But the whole point of Alternet is to just be on a mass scale. Censorship would be realistically impossible. That is the primary focal point. That is the ultimate goal. And then privacy respecting is kind of just like a bonus on there. We're keeping privacy in mind as we make it, but it would be it's not like the primary focus is for it to be completely uncensorable or for it to be completely anonymous. Jesus fucking Christ. The whole point is that it's realistically uncensorable. Jesus Christ. I am having a day today, man. But hopefully that all makes sense. But the and that is kind of a really hard thing to balance. It's like they're on a tightrope, and they're really having to play that game of balance there because they're trying to balance privacy while also trying to balance speed of the network because speed is very important in a network like this. Again, if you want to be able to stream video reasonably, download big files reasonably, and all that stuff, and you don't want it to take several seconds to visit a fucking web page and shit, then speed is definitely a very important factor. But then they're also trying to kind of play that game, so it's a hard balance, I would say.
yeah. I think when it comes to speed, it's not. I think we're already going to do good in terms of speed compared to other sort of protocols, right? And yeah, generally speaking, that's going to be okay. And on top of that, we're going to have like a period. Obviously, it's not going to be for the proof of concept, right? But eventually, we'll get to a point where it's like, okay, me and homework are just going to be there optimizing, right?
Yeah, of
And
course. At first, the network will at first, and you guys should fully expect this, by the way. At first, the network will be slow as shit. The network at first probably will be pretty slow, but then there's going to be just a phase of optimization. Just improving the network and everything. I feel like caching and all of that stuff, being adopted later will be very important. But I mean, that all just comes over time. It's getting it functional first, optimized later. Russia tried to take down Tor, and in the crossfire was stuff like AWS and Azure. That's funny as shit. That's funny as shit. Why Rust though? Oh dear. Oh
Who's
dear.
that?
We
Who's that?
just we just
Who's
we
that?
Tungo P as why Rust though. Oh boy. Let's avoid the rant again. Simply
It's a good
put,
language.
because Rust is just comparatively to all the other languages we have at our disposal, Rust makes the most sense. That's just the simplest, most summarized answer I can possibly give you. Rust makes sense for this kind of thing. I agree that Rust is overused in a lot of ways. Like, why the fuck does my Notepad application have to be written in Rust? You know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes it's just smarter to write certain applications. Higher level applications make more sense to write in like maybe just C or whatever. But security applications and protocols and stuff like that that are very low level where security very much matters, because if my Notepad application has a vulnerability in it, right, versus like a network protocol of this degree, you know what I'm saying? Like Rust makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
in this
I'm gonna
scenario.
be a little bit. I'm gonna add like I think that Rust isn't a low level language, right? And I
No,
think people
I
are
feel
gonna
like
be,
it's not
you
high
know,
level either though. It's kind of
I
in that
think
middle. It's an intermediary, really.
it exactly right. It's a language where actually like I don't want people to feel intimidated, right? Because you can write like high level Rust, right, and not have to touch generics and all these things, right? It's a great language for that as well.
So as far as the next 2 weeks, before the next, alternate live stream, what are you guys I'm sure you guys have already discussed this. What are you guys going to be focusing on these next 2 weeks? What's going to be the game plan here for the next 2 weeks? You guys have it on the to-do and everything there and as well and stuff. So could you elaborate more in detail on what are you guys exactly planning to do in these coming weeks?
Yeah. So we have to do CI/CD pipelines. So homework is still working on that. We're still talking, right? Generally, like I said, still in the whiteboard phase. Like we have ideas coming in and out. We talked about using gossip and PubSub and all these things for having a communication layer on Alternet, right? But these are things that we are not going to tackle now, but it's important because it helps us define like how we can make sure it's easier for us to implement these things later on, right? For the next 2 weeks, it's mainly just talking and boring, like reading documentations and stuff, right? But like I said, during this period, we're still going to be like writing the actual constructs. You'll see a lot more code getting basically like submitted, and yeah.
All right, well, is there any questions in the chat? Any comments? Any feedback? Do you guys have any questions at all for Pascal or even me here? Do you guys have any concerns, comments, questions, want to learn more, anything like that? If you guys end up having these off stream, by the way, then you can join our Discord server. And Pascal's in there, homework's in there, I'm in there, and I'm very active in there. So you can always just at us and ask a question. We'll answer. Try to make sure that I try to make sure that people's ability to directly like get feedback to me or directly, talk to me or whatever is very easy. I want to make sure that's the case even years from now. Because you know how there's people who are like very hard to contact. Like it's there's kind of a massive wall in between you and them. It always sucks because that's how you end up getting CEOs who only listen to PR teams, and then that's how you get shit like the current state of Microsoft. Imagine if Microsoft's CEO listened to feedback directly from the masses. That's kind of been the single most important that's kind of been the single most powerful tool for me for running Raven this whole time has been my ability has been me being able to just hear directly from people. Like even with Talon and everything, whenever I first made that video about Talon, I read all the comments and was reading directly what people had to say about it. Will it work in Russia? That's the idea. Yes.
Yep.
How exactly are we web devs? How exactly are we slash web devs be able to make websites? Is it going to be different like the regular web, or is there going to be a difference? So, Alternet is just a protocol. It is just that's all it is. So you can have just a regular website, like a regular HTTP website, right? And you can serve it over the alternate protocol. That's definitely possible. That's, I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, what?
you can still code in your HTML and CSS and everything, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you still use the same browsers. You can use whatever you want. It's just the layer between what happens when you request to see a website and the time where you get served that website. That's the layer we're kind of replacing, right?
And at
Everything
a
from your
And
application.
in theory, I mean, we've discussed this briefly, but like when alternate is more stable and ready to go and everything, we can even make like a browser extension maybe or something that people can get where they can then access, like they can install it or whatever, then they can access alternate websites and stuff. And same with like a
Oh
web
yeah.
dev, if they had a website that they were serving over HTTPS, if they wanted their website to also be served over alternate, then maybe we could make some kind of like extension for their web server or something like that, like a plugin or whatever, and they can also serve it over alternate. I'm sure some people, when the protocol's finished, will write will write web servers for alternate. We'll write like alternate servers.
Oh, and I mean, this is
Sure
the
that'll
great
happen.
part is we're writing a implementation of Altnet, right? But there's actually nothing stopping you from writing
Writing
your
your own
own node
implementation.
in a different language, right? And still connecting to the network, which makes it really really cool and really good for that.
As long as it follows the spec, then yeah, you can write it however you can write your own implementation of alternate or whatever. I mean, that's the same thing with the regular web. You can write your own web server if you want. Like that, you can do that. You just have to follow this web spec. It's gonna be the same case. Is there any more questions? Stream's been going on for about an hour now. You think we're about good to head out then, Pascal? I think we're out of questions here. If you guys do
Yeah, I
have any
think
more
I've seen.
questions, again, you guys can join our Discord server. You can email. We have our email on our website if you want to email. If you have a specific question for Homework or Pascal or whatever, I can forward it to them. But anyways, yeah. Do you have anything to say more, Pascal, or do you think we're good to wrap up here?
No, I think I've yapped about Rust enough. Did I?
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in for the bi-weekly alternate stream. This is the fourth alternate stream. God, how many alternate streams do you think there will be? Jesus.
maybe 10, 12, 24.
There's gonna be like fucking 100 of them. Because you got to think,
Yeah,
even after the stable 1.0, we're still gonna have work to do.
yeah.
These alternates, Jesus Christ. Big announcements coming tomorrow. Actually, I think the big announcement video that Raven's been planning this whole time is coming literally tomorrow. So, you guys stay tuned for that. And yeah, I think that's it. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I will end it. It's not ending. Cool. Hold on.